This reminds me of every reason why I'm so averse to the whole queer thing. Like, here we go. We've got it right here. We need to start understanding why people think the way they do, even if we still disagree. And not just slap bigot labels on. The first one I've got, I keep getting recommended this. I need to fix my YouTube window. Why does it do this? This one, I'm not very hopeful for. But we'll see. There's a couple of like smaller creators, I think, that kind of hit off with certain videos. But this one is, being queer doesn't mean you're actually queer, which I don't know what actually queer means. There's someone called Horace. I know absolutely nothing about this person. Hi, Heartless Rival. So this is what concerns me. So queerness is a choice, a very good choice, but there are people who are LGBT who choose not to align with the vast, beautiful, expansive nature of radical queerness. Well, I mean, probably a fair amount of them tried to and did not enjoy what they were coming across. I certainly fit into that. Like, if queer was more of a thing, like in 2017 or some shit, maybe I would have called myself it, I don't know. But nowadays, having spent time around those kinds of people and understanding what some of them are like, I'm extremely wary of the whole queer thing, quite honestly. And align themselves with political ideologies and social movements that cause severe damage to the true queer community. I'd love to know what the true queer community is, because queer just seems like a boilerplate label that you slap on yourself and others. Yeah, so a bit concerning, this whole thing. Political ideologies, social movements that cause severe damage to the true queer community. I mean, we'll see what he's saying. We'll see what he's saying. Maybe this is actually based and this is just giving me bad vibes. I don't know. I know nothing about this.
Queerness is a choice. Yeah, I said it and I meant it. What are you going to do about it? Being LGBT is not a choice.
Okay, that's wrong straight away. Being LGB is not a choice. The thing is, if you define trans as being about gender dysphoria, you could argue it's not a choice. But if you're queer, you probably don't think that trans is based on gender dysphoria. You probably think it's based on identity. And an identity, I mean, he's right when he says queer is a choice. Trans is the same thing to most of these people.
But being a part of a vast, diverse, expansive, you see where I'm going, beautiful community that is queerness.
Yeah, so this is not what I've experienced from queerness myself. I've experienced over-politicization. I've experienced very judgmental attitudes to people that think any differently. That's what I've experienced. And people don't seem to give a shit. When you have a bad experience with the queer communities, you tend to just be, like, othered even further. You tend to be demonized even further. And I wish there were, like, room to have conversations where people can actually talk about how they've had, like, actually quite bad experiences with this kind of thing. And that this kind of radical stuff has actually pushed a lot of people away. But hey, let's see where he's going.
Is a choice. And it's a very good one that I do think we should all be making. With the rise of people who are conservative, MAGA, Republican.
Yeah, so I've explained a bit about why people aren't necessarily making that choice.
Whatever you want to call it. I think it's important that we note that there are people who are queer, quote unquote, who are not actually part of the queer community at all. Did you ever see Angels?
Someone like me would be an example of that. I fit under queer because queer is just anyone that's not straight, and then plenty of people who are straight, and it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But he's, you know, I'm the kind of person he's talking about, because I don't identify with the queer community. I don't whatsoever. I've had bad experiences with the queer community.
In America, because I think of the character played by Al Pacino, who's also a real life person, Roy Cohn, who was famously closeted but like openly homophobic while being homosexual, you know?
And this is already like, that's the example you're going with. I don't think you're going to give non-queer LGBTs a fair shake. I think this is going to be, I don't think I'm going to get down with this at all.
And like he died of AIDS in the crisis because he was sleeping with, like, he's gay. He wouldn't say he's gay, but I would say he's gay. He is not queer. He is anti-queer. And like, what is queerness? Lucky for you, I own an iPad. So here's the definition: denoting or relating to a sexual or gender identity that does not correspond to established ideas of sexuality and gender, especially heterosexual norms.
Yeah, so it's like anti-straight kind of stuff. And again, I'm not going to say this is true of every queer person, but I've met plenty of queer identifying people who kind of cross the line and seem almost quite bigoted against like heterosexual people.
norms and not the restaurant en La Cienega. I think norms is probably the most operative word in that definition. You know, like queerness is in so many different aspects, and there's everyone in the world has a norm put on top of us. And I think there's like an expectation of every living organism. I'm getting over a cold right now, and I was watching.
Growing up with many elderly lesbian and gay aunts and uncles, hearing about the trauma that word queer caused them, I could never feel comfortable using the word. That's fair enough. There's lots of reasons why people don't identify as queer. And what I'm worried is this is going to be another person who doesn't understand and quite honestly has decided that you've got queer, which means good, and then non-queer, which means bad, which is a terrible way of analyzing this. But let's see.
Blue Planet the other day, and y'all, there was a transgender fish. I love when Republicans are like, it's never in science, it's never in nature, homosexual, it's not right. Why was there a fish? Why was there a trans man fish? Blue Planet 2, HBO.
I mean, if there are trans fish, my guess is that there's some kind of evolutionary thing that makes that necessary in some circumstances. But it's really got nothing to do with people, so I don't know.
Max, it's 30 minutes into the fucking first episode. It's right there. We got an AFAB fish, y'all. Assigned fish at birth. Stupid. And with every school of fish, there is a female fish that then becomes a male fish, and then that is how like the rest of the school of that's how this like species of fish continues. Is that there's one who transitions from
so it's an evolutionary thing, which obviously humans have no need for, and humans have not evolved themselves. Because being trans is not natural. Doesn't make it bad. I don't actually think being trans is a bad thing in and of itself. But it's not a natural thing. It's not something that just happens.
female to male, and that's like a part of evolution. It's a part of nature. Trans people are not.
Yeah, it's a part of evolution. But fish and humans come from very different different branches of evolution. Humans are mammals. Fish are fish. And each species' evolution goes in a different way. Things evolve so that they can continue reproducing. Humans have not evolved a function for transgenderism. That's something that has happened recently. Something that has happened when we've kind of gone past the point of evolving. Because we're just not, it's not survival of the fittest for us anymore. Because we've taken over everything. You know what I mean?
Natural. Queer people are necessary. But, sorry, I'm getting worked up. I think.
Like, why? Jesus Christ, this is painful already. What are you getting worked up for? I'm trans myself. I don't care if people go around saying that being trans is unnatural. I still exist. That's fine. You can think what you want about trans people. I just don't give a shit anymore. I think people should be allowed to say what they want in general.
I think that queerness is a thing that we see in various different styles throughout friendships, throughout
like we're suggesting that queerness is present in like fish. Fish don't know what queer is. Queer is like a socially constructed thing. It doesn't exist in the real world. If you were to delete everything to do with sexuality and sex, queerness would not exist.
Relationships, throughout partnerships, like there are people who are poly and people who are open. I am not either of those communities. I think it's funny that people use the word open because the jail cell doors would be closed on me for murder. You want to sleep with my man and live to tell the story? Let's go. Okay, for sure. You're like, does not work for me. Do not have that software update in this little homosexual noggin of mine, but I love that truly for you. Side note, my friend.
This guy's gay. I'm really shocked.
I used to do this bit where we would go, I would rather put my finger.
The queer community is a cult at this point. They're openly bigoted towards people who disagree with their politics, etc. Henpeck people to keep in line with their dogma. Hi, Cam. I think some people are like that. I'm sure there's people that go around that identify with the term queer that aren't in a thought cult, but like I said, unfortunately, I see way too many people that cross over into that. And what I found when I started questioning stuff is that anyone I knew that was in like a queer community, like locally, they all fucking disowned me, often without even bothering to talk to me to understand where I'm coming from. And a lot of the like radical politics and stuff that's attached to it. To me, it feels like, why is it that because I'm trans, like I'm someone that wants to be the other sex, why does that come with like bizarro, like anarcho-socialist kind of politics and stuff? Why does that come with hating certain groups of people? I'm not down with any of that. And there's no, like, it doesn't feel like true diversity is actually welcomed in the queer communities. It feels like they want aesthetic diversity. It feels like they want people that all think the same way and are all the same on the inside. And then on the outside, they're all different. You've got people with different skin colors, etc., etc., etc. Which to me is nonsense. I think that doesn't make sense.
In a blender and press puree, but I love that for you. But I mean it genuinely.
I did see someone who identified queer. That was a defector from the Soviet Union, hated communism. Yeah, and they probably get a lot of shit from that if they talk about it. Like, I used to get in, like, trans groups. I used to get in, like, arguments about, like, Maoism and stuff. Because they all shared, like, apparently it's trans to have some meme culture around wanting to kill landlords and stuff. And I was a letting agent, and I was like, well, A, these people kind of pay for me to do my job. I wouldn't be here without these people. And B, it's just not like what you people think it is. But good luck trying to talk these people into it. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Nearly what I say that, like, that's the thing that's beautiful about queerness, is that there's so many people who I would not personally do what you do, and you wouldn't do what I do. And because we are defined.
Yeah, what it sounds like to me is that queer actually has a very poor definition, because there's so many different people that have got nothing to do with each other within that whole thing. But then you have to have certain beliefs, it feels like.
The norms. We don't have to, girl. I can do whatever I want to do, and you can do whatever you want to do, and it's beautiful, and it's vast, and it's different, and it's strange, and that's the point, and I love it. I love that I do not have to adhere to norms put onto me. But
well, you don't have to adhere to norms, and you don't have to identify as queer. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. I'm not queer. I don't adhere to norms. I'm not a normal person in any way, shape, or form. You don't have to be queer to be like that. Like, queer is just a label people slap onto it. It feels like usually because they want to find some kind of community. And like, more power to you if you're able to. What I found is the communities I looked for were very much not suitable for me. And I don't think they're suitable for a lot of people with like mental health issues. A lot of people who are free thinkers in any way. You know what I mean?
by people who don't look or fuck the way that I do. Why the fuck would I want to do what you do? I don't want to sleep with your wife. So why do I care what you think of how I sleep with my man? We don't want the same thing, mama. And when I stop actually feeling like I need to like subscribe to this like archetype that does not fit me, that I've never subscribed to that mold by choice or by nature, I've never fit.
See, because it just sounds like you're swapping one for another. You've got like normal and then you've got queer. Like, you're just picking a different set of norms. But then, for like straight people, how many ways is there to be a heterosexual person? I guess technically just one. You have to be a male or female and want to be with the opposite. But really, the possibilities within that are endless. It's like being a male or a female. What you can actually do within those things is pretty boundless, really. Someone thought the USSR was liberal. Like, Jesus Christ, did that person go to school? Anyway.
It in. Why do I care whether or not I fit? I don't, girl. That it does not work for me. I'm a size 11, that is a size 8. My foot will get a blister. I'm trying to be cis het. Okay, I got you on the cis, but the het? Het no. Stupid. Oh my God. Unsubscribe. But there are, believe it or not, people who fall under the umbrella of queerness who do not subscribe to the community of queerness at large. And again, these are people who I think are on the LGBT.
Yeah, so people like me.
Spectrum. I don't call them in the queer community because I'm like, if you're actively against my community, then we are not in the same community.
Well, I'm not actively against a community. I don't think most people are actively against the queer community. I think they take certain issues with the queer community. And, you know, it's difficult not to generalize. Obviously, I'm not talking about every single queer person, every single person that calls himself that. But truthfully, I've had bad experiences, and so have a lot of people. And what it feels like, we're trying to downplay any of that. Oh, well, you're just against my group. Like, well, there's more to it than that. I think you should try actually listening to what these people are saying.
We are not in community with one another. And I take like my community very seriously. I don't just mean gay men. I mean like queer people. Every one of the LGBTQIA community is like the baseline. The next level is the choice to choose queerness. Because there are socially liberal gay men. I'll use us as an example. There are socially liberal gay men who do not subscribe to all of queerness. These are the ones who are trans exclusionary, misogynistic, racist.
Okay, so not being queer means you're against, like, this is gross. I don't know how much of this I'm going to watch. I don't like where this is going at all.
Who do not subscribe to all of queerness.
Like, if immediately we talk about the people that don't subscribe to all of queerness, and that means being bigoted. Queerness isn't anti-bigotry. Sometimes I meet queer people that are very fucking bigoted, whether it's towards Jews or whether it's towards, like, heterosexual people or whatever. White people. Jesus Christ, I'm not loving this. This got almost 56,000 views. But it comes across extremely ignorant.
These are the ones who are trans exclusionary, misogynistic, racist, fatphobic. Like there's a lot of other ways that exclude the entirety and the diversity that is queerness, because the queer community does not look like one thing. But
yeah, like fatness is part of the queer community. Is that what we're suggesting? So if you're fat, you're queer?
The entirety and the diversity that...
Like, what does this person think of like the fat acceptance movement? Would he not accept that there's areas in which it goes too far and that people might rebel against that rather than just rebelling against people being fat in general.
Is queerness, because the queer community does not look like one thing. But ask any gender non-conforming or a person of color if they think that queer community and gay community are the same thing, and they will tell you very quickly, mama, that those are two separate beings. Those are two separate fucking things. And
it's such a mess. I'm trying to follow, but it's like the queer and gay communities aren't the same thing. And if you're anti-queer, that generally means you're bigoted. Like, man.
I do happen to exist in both. Look, I know that I am a slim, attractive gay man who has gay friends, who sleeps with gay men. Like, I am in the gay community, but like, I am proudly queer.
We need to get rid of the word community. What do we even mean when we're saying this?
I love trans people. I love gender non-conforming people. I love lesbian music. I love, you know what I mean? Like, my queerness is not my gayness. I find those to be very separate things, and that was not.
If you love trans people, do you accept trans people that disagree on something like children should transition? Things like maybe trans women shouldn't be in female sports? Because if you won't accept trans people that have those positions, then you're not actually pro-trans at all. In fact, your supposed love of trans people hinges on them having the same beliefs as you. To me, that is transphobia.
It's not always the case, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. Gay does not automatically mean queer, and queer does not exclusively mean gay. My queerness is...
Ever since the growth of queer, they're in so many political groups. My local working class liberation meeting, they show up and waste time talking about aesthetics, not real action. Most queers interact with politics in such a surface way. I mean, I'd say that's the same for most people, really. Just doing for social points, not actually caring about the cause. Just doing it because it's trendy. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to generalize, but at the same time, you definitely get those types. A lot of the queers I knew locally were like very politically radicalized, and they were just pushing a lot of stuff that I just didn't agree with. And it's like, well, how can I? I don't know, man. It's difficult to disagree with someone who's saying non-binary is valid and there is no debate. And it's like, well, what does any of that even mean? What does he mean by queer? He means basically anyone who's not normal, heterosexual, whatever else.
It's very trans-centered. I think I'm a person who has had a lot of very different juxtaposing identities in one, and a lot of that aligns in a way that I understand trans people and trans people understand me. I'm a chaser, but like for friends, you know what I mean? And not to sound like the like I have black friends type of person, but like
oh, you want to have all the trans friends? Oh, don't know about this. Don't know about this.
I have transitioned in a way in so many different forms of my life. Like I've lived so many different lives, and I think that that's what I really love and appreciate is the autonomy that trans people have. So like, for example, Horace is my middle name, and when I started going by my middle name, I was...
What autonomy are we talking about here? You know, you can change your name and still be a straight guy. You know, you can grow your hair out and wear makeup and still be a straight guy. Admittedly, depending on where you are, you might not get many fucking dates. I don't really understand this. Like, being queer or like identifying as queer doesn't actually mean anything. Like, you can be a cis hetero person who has certain preferences and wants to dress a certain way. There's actually nothing wrong with that. And like, queer groups have their own norms anyway. So we're not actually busting norms. We've just got a different framework of norms.
20. And I was asking people to start calling me by my chosen name. And it was just fascinating how difficult it was for people to like adhere to this, like what I thought was a very simple request. And I think that that's, but like I have transitioned in a way in so many different forms of my life. Like I've lived so many different lives. And I think that that's what I really love and appreciate is the autonomy that trans people have. So like, for example, Horace is my middle name. And when I started going by my middle name, I was...
Oh, Horace. When he started going for his middle name, not everyone accepts. Well, if someone's used to calling you a certain thing, it might take a while. I'm sorry about it. Like, people can't just deal with this simple request. Like, Jesus Christ, welcome to the real world.
Was 20, and I was asking people to start calling me by my chosen name, and it was just fascinating how difficult it was for people to like adhere to this, like what I thought was a very...
Yeah, was it difficult for them like to adhere to this very simple request, or are they calling you something they're not used to calling you and it's taking a while?
Simple request. And I had this moment where I was like, this is literally 1/1000th of the trans experience. Like, this is so simple. All I'm asking is...
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that when trans people whine about this stuff, I tell them to grow a thicker skin. And I'd say the same thing to you. This is not a problem. This is like, no one should care about this kind of thing. It takes time sometimes for people to get used to calling you a different thing. I'm sorry about it. Why don't you come back when you've got some real problems? Ironically, I want to say this is white people problems. There isn't even a white person, so I don't know what to say instead. First world problems, I don't know. You're in America, so you have it easy in a lot of ways, but you're going to pretend that you have it difficult based on the tiniest little things. Oh, is that a Caribbean thing? Horace? I have no idea. I'm like very slightly Caribbean, but I'm white.
For you to call me Horace. And like the like dissonance I feel from my own body, how like separate I feel, that like this simple request around my identity is not being met by people, and I feel
Yeah, this is like narcissistic. Why do you care this much? You sound like you're getting upset thinking about how people got used to calling you your first name and then couldn't switch over straight away without fail when you asked them to call you something else. That's just a thing that happens. Like, I'm sorry, man. And what was this meant to be coming off of? Oh, trans people have so much autonomy. Like, autonomy for what? Anyone can change their name. It's not a unique thing to being trans. It's just trans people are gonna change their name at far higher rates than other people. You want to call yourself like Fuckface McGee and change that to your name? Well, I don't know if you legally can, but you could certainly try. You don't have to be queer to do that. You can do whatever you want.
invalidated by people as a slim cisgender gay person, but still like not trans at all. And I felt,
oh, and we have to like do all that, and I'm not even trans. I'm like all of this stuff. Yeah, it sounds a bit narcissistic, and it sounds like first world problems coming from a cis gay man as well as from a trans person. So you're not unique in that respect, I would say.
this way about one aspect of my name, and it turned this thing on me where I was like, oh my god, like they do so much more than this, and like I'm fucked up about it. So like that was really where I like,
yeah, why? Like, Jesus Christ, you're asking someone to change something. It might not take overnight. Some people might be used to calling you something else. Is people calling you by your first name instead of your middle name really the end of the world? Are you going to die from that happening? I don't know, man.
got radicalized for like my deep love
For being fat accepting, he loves talking about how skinny he is. Yeah, true. But I guess it's like a virtue signal to fat people, because we've decided that fat equals queer, which I think is nuts. And I wonder what he thinks of like the excesses of the fat acceptance community. What he thinks of the excesses of like the trans community, where we're trying to transition children, where we're ruining women's sports. You know what I mean? Getting males into female prisons to knock up the inmates. Like, there's problems. But the problem is, to someone like this, it kind of seems like if you're like anti-queer, aka you're a gay person or whatever, and call yourself queer, you're like a bigot. When it's like maybe these people are just fed up of like the excesses of like these queer movements. That's not bigotry. That's people's experiences. You're fat, so are you queer now? I guess so, yeah. I guess so.
Love and like empathy and advocacy for trans people, and that was like over 10 years ago, you know what I mean? And so it's just this thing where like I think that's where
it was over 10 years ago. It was someone calling you by your first name, which presumably you still legally have in your name, and you're still getting kind of upset talking about it. What? What is going on here? Am I real? Is this real?
where my queerness really began, as because I was gay, I knew I was gay, but like my queerness really started with that understanding. But I think I really identified as queer and proudly as queer like 3 or 4 years ago, 3 years ago now, and I will never forget it.
I'm like, what was the premise of this video? Now we're just telling us about how we came across queerness. Wow, amazing. I'm gonna presumably hear this and still be none the wiser to what queer actually is, because you can be any of these things that he describes as queer without actually being queer easily. You can be straight and be most of the things that constitute as queer. And straight people do identify as queer because they decided they're not cis. And being not cis literally just means giving yourself a gender identity. Just decide, oh, I'm genderqueer now. No one's going to question it. Everyone's going to respect it. You might even get more attention. You might even be treated more kindly by queer people. I mean, think about it. If you're like a cis-het person who has a lot of like queer friends, aren't you going to have to deal with like a bunch of shit talk now and then? Isn't it kind of easier to just take on an identity, even if it's not real? Like even transition yourself so that people treat you a bit better. So you don't have to listen to people talking about people just like you in like derogatory terms. Because that happens, like I said. You know, I have my own experiences of like queer communities. And sometimes I come across what seems like rampant bigotry, but against like straight people. I don't think it's fine that way either. And I think bigotry can go any way. I think you can be racist against white people, for example. I think you can probably be I don't know what the word is, but like, you can be bigoted against heterosexual people in the same way you can be bigoted against gay people. Feel restricted by the expectations of the gay community, which does place great value on physical appearance, and he adheres to that 100%. Queer is a LARP to make you think you're being different. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like, queer isn't being different. Queer is just accepting a different group of norms, quite frankly. And like, I reject that as much as I reject the other set of norms. But I don't really hate on that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to hate on queer. I'm trying to explain that some of us have got problems with it. But as soon as you say you've got problems with being queer, or like the queer community, or some aspects of it, or whatever, straight away you're a bigot. He's done the same thing himself. As soon as he starts talking about like gay people who aren't queer, he starts saying like, yeah, they're like fat phobic, they're like bigoted, whatever. I think it's nasty. Oh, hi Serena, I hope you're good. Sophia Chu. Oh my god, that's crazy. I'm sure I'll probably end up seeing some videos about it. Yeah. My mom went to a lesbian bridal shower and they just talked down to her for being straight. Ouch. That's not nice.
I was at a lesbian party that was also like kind of like an AFAB non-binary party. Another side note, I don't like, personally, as a sissy, I do not like when people say, what do they say? Like for lesbians and non-binary people. I'm like, you know that you mean girl with an asterisk. Like you're still when you put AFAB non-binary, people say that was also like kind of like an AFAB non-binary party. Another side note, I don't like, personally, as a sissy, I do not like when people say what do they say? Like for lesbians and non-binary people. I'm like, you know that you mean girl with an asterisk. Like you're still when you put AFAB non-binary people in the same corner.
Yeah, I agree. Just put women. And also, if they're female and non-binary, then they're a woman. So I don't know.
As lesbians, for me, I don't like that. I feel like it's the same. I feel like you're saying the same thing. But
why do you care? Wait.
AFAB non-binary people in the same corner as lesbians. For me,
AFAB non-binary people and lesbians, feel like we're putting them in the same corner. I kind of agree, actually. I kind of agree with this. Just say lesbians. Just say women. These people are women anyway, overwhelmingly.
I don't like that. I feel like it's the same. I feel like you're saying the same thing. But that's just my personal taste. I don't like it. And then there's another one I don't like when people say, what is it? They say, for people who identify as a girl, for people who identify as male. You're clocking the dolls by being like, sure, you identify, yeah, sure. For men and people who identify as men. That is clocky. Like,
I mean, if you say women and mean people who identify as women, then your definition of women is meaningless and broken. Because if someone is a woman, if they identify as a woman, then you still have not answered the question of what is a woman. Circular definitions.
Like, they're men or they're not. Like, it's not about like who identifies as male. I'm a man who identifies as male. Am I cis or am I trans? What do you fucking mean? I don't like that.
What if a man doesn't identify as anything? Are they still a man? Why are we putting the onus on identity when identity is just something you call yourself? I can call myself a mule deer all I want. Am I actually one?
It annoys me. I think it's stupid. It's just, I don't like all of these sort of like, all these qualifiers around like gender. I don't like when people who are not trans like talk about other people's transness before their gender. Like, it's just not your place. Like, I don't like it. Anyways, not the point. I was at a pool party in West Hollywood and it was a lesbian party. And I think I was one of like 4 cis gay boys there.
There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of potential for like faux pas. There's a lot of norms for what is supposed to be an anti-norm thing, that being queer. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different things that bothers this person. There's a lot of different faux pas that your average person is probably going to find difficult to deal with and interface with. And to an extent, plenty of your supposed own people are going to find that difficult to interface with and potentially end up just not identifying with queer altogether. And then we have to deal with people like you who suggest that being non-queer but LGBT equals bigotry.
And there were drag kings performing around the pool. Haley Kiyoko was playing. And I was like, I love not being the star of the show, but this being like such a queer place. Like, it's so gay.
Don't know about that, but okay.
Without there being gay men. And it in a way made me feel gayer because I was like, this is gay. This is really fucking gay. Oh my God. But there's not gay men here. Oh my God. It was revolutionary. I loved it.
Yes, you get gay women. Like, what? Did you not like realize that there's more than one kind of gay person? And then you spent time around lesbians? Oh my God, they're gay too. Like, no shit, bro.
I loved it so fucking much. We've got Haley Kiyoko playing in the background. 10 out of 10 out in the line. And I was like, oh my God, I love lesbians! Guys, I'm not gonna lie, I wrote a song called Loveful and it's literally about this.
I think I'm in love with a lesbian, and I know that it's not alright. But there is just something about this lesbian, and it keeps me up at night.
Poetry.
I have always loved lesbians as a gay man. I really do. Because you know why? I love lesbians because they meet my femininity and my masculinity in the same place.
I'd be amazed if it's this deep for most gay guys. When gay guys like lesbians, isn't it usually just that's who you see in the gay bar? You see gay guys, you see lesbians. Probably going to be getting to know those people and not other people who are not in the gay bar. I doubt it's this deep, but sure.
Be like a diva, and I can also be butch with lesbians because they're also like, if you really have lesbian friends, you know that those girls are dolls underneath it all. They're not like the dolls, but like, you want a diva, talk to a butch lesbian. I am telling you right now. You want to talk to a girl, talk to a lesbian.
Mate, I'd love to, but every butch lesbian I know, except for like one or two, are now non-binary and won't talk to me anymore. So, hey, I don't know. Apparently because I'm not queer, I'm a bigot.
Lesbians are sassy. They are, oh, I love a lesbian. I really do. But they're like still like butch. And like, that's how I feel. So I'm like, I can diva down, but like, your boy lives. Like, I'm like a dude, like a bro. Like, and I love the duality of both of those things. To me, that is queerness. That is like the rejection.
Yeah, but none of that needs to envelop queerness at all. You can be anyone you want. Whether you're queer or not, really is just accepting a label. So we still don't have any actual like real definition. I don't know, man. As a lesbian, I want this guy so far away from me. Fair enough, listen. If I met this guy in a gay bar like 10 years ago, we'd probably have gotten on and stuff. Maybe we still would, I don't know. Probably not, because I'm basically functionally unable to deal with being around other people anymore. But when I was younger, maybe. I don't know. Like, I used to go to a lot of gay bars. I used to spend a lot of time around gay people. And some people are very kind to me, you know. I'm not gonna forget that. I have plenty of like gay people that still follow me. What I take issue with is that now we have to be queer as well, and if we're not, it's suggested that we're bigoted or bigot adjacent.
Of the norms that we were talking about earlier, like I really feel most at home when I exist with both of those things. I'm like, yeah, let's play basketball, but also like I can tell you who won Drag Race in the international seasons, girl. I can tell you each winner of UK's Drag Race. Ginger Johnson, let's talk about it. Kyron Thrax, let's talk. Lawrence, the Vivian, let's talk about it. Davina DeCampo didn't win, but I love her. Let's talk about it. I can diva down, and I love a diva down. I love a butch moment. I love watching football. I love basketball. I love it all.
I can't stand the flamboyance. I'm fine with the flamboyance. I don't see a problem with guys being more flamboyant. Like, I'm down with, like, gender nonconformity. I just don't think gender nonconformity should be attached to a whole bunch of, like, political ideologies. And that's what I see queer as these days because of my experiences. And the annoying thing is, instead of trying to understand why people are like this, you write them off as people who are aligning themselves with political ideologies and social movements that cause severe damage to the true queer community. Like, I think you're causing damage by writing people off this way. I think you're deepening divides that at some point are going to need healing. And I would love to talk to people who are actually invested in, like, bridging those kind of divides from, like, the queer side. Because I don't actually hate queer people. I hate some of the ideology. But I don't hate this person because they call themselves queer, for sure. I don't like what he's saying.
All right, like that is my queerness. I won't exist within the like confines of it all. So like, why try that?
And also, I don't think he's defining queerness at all. You can be heterosexual, blah blah blah, and not be like this. But then, usually these people get around it by saying that, oh well, being gender non-conforming means that you're queer. Well, I disagree. I'm very gender non-conforming. I'm a male. I'm a trans woman, but I'm male, ultimately. Like, I'm about as gender non-conforming as you can be, and I'm not queer, so I don't know. Hi, Mischief. I hope you're good.
To me is the best. Where I'm like, I'm just gonna be myself because I'm never gonna fit into the like pure Santa Monica Boulevard, West Hollywood twink. I'm like, I got too much muscle and an ass for that. Like, that's not my world. But also, like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I'm not a diva. I am proudly a diva. I watch divas live with Mariah Carey and her big hair, Celine Dion, Aretha Franklin. I'm a diva down. I was born that way. Okay, I'm a diva.
Listen, I disavow. I'm not down with calling gay people that. But thanks for the comment.
I've got the VHS to prove it. And it made me stop wanting to recreate like cis heteronormativity, right? Like we were talking about the picket fence, but I'm like, girl, what if I want to live in a loft downtown? I don't really want to create this like cis hetero model.
The thing is, I have no idea what this person's sex life is like, so I don't know how I'd, you know. Is this person personally like way oversexed? Maybe they are, who fucking knows, but that's not really what I'm here for.
I don't want to exist within the norms. I'm queer. I'm gay. I'm going to marry.
Yet you want to exist within a different norm. And you're laying out the rules that if you don't think this certain way, you're this, that, and the other. I heard this part of the video where you're doing it, bro. You can't take that back. And clearly you edited it and kept it in the video, so you don't want to take it back.
A man, so baby, we are not going to have a child that is both of our equal DNA. We're either going to adopt or not have a kid, because frankly, for me and my personal queerness and my like relationships with women, I don't love surrogacy. This is a hot take. This is a hot take. This is me. I think.
Okay, I need to look more into surrogacy still, but I potentially would agree with this.
That the idea of body harvesting, sorry, that's a Freudian slip. I think that surrogacy gives body harvesting. I'm gonna be really honest. I don't love it. I think it freaks me out. I think the idea that like you want to put a
like the sad thing is like maybe he'll get cancelled from a few of his fellow queers for that kind of thing.
price on a person with a uterus denying their biological attachment to the child that came out of their uterus is weird to me, and it feels super fucking patriarchal for a man to say, hey, can I buy your uterus? Weird. So weird. I don't love it. So for me,
we have to call it patriarchal. I don't know, man. See, this is what I mean. That's what I associate queer with. All these buzzwords, all this like radical smash the patriarchy stuff. Well, where's the patriarchy? Your country almost had a dark-skinned woman become the president. 8 years ago, just over 8 years ago, a different woman also almost became president. Is that a patriarchy? I think it's more accurate to say that there's problems. There's inequalities, sometimes which don't favor men rather than women, but, you know, let's ignore that. So yeah, this is generally what I associate like queer with, is all this like radical like language, which to me is like often meaningless, often extremely reductive. And like, I'm not down with it. I'm sorry.
that's not my tea. That's not my ministry, diva, and that's okay. I don't judge others. However, comma, ellipses, period, for me.
Wait, but you already have. If you think it's a certain way, then you kind of are judging anyone that does it, no? Oh, I don't fucking know. I can't. It's all this like disclaimer stuff as well. I couldn't survive if everything I said I had to disclaimer in like a bunch of different ways. I would find that exhausting. I do find this exhausting. I find the word queerness being said every 10 seconds like clockwork exhausting.
I'm not gonna be doing that. I'm not gonna do that.
You have to use 10 of the vocab words in your video. I say, yes, exactly. Oh my God. And then when everyone's doing this kind of stuff, it doesn't feel like you're breaking norms. It feels like you've formed a new norm and are now all flocking to be that. Where it's like, yeah, you can dress how you want, but all of you think the same. To me, it comes across as aesthetic diversity, but like deep down, it's like homogeneity. I don't know. Like the opposite of what like a nationalist wants or something. It's bizarre. Well, maybe, I don't know.
So it already puts into perspective of like, how much am I trying to recreate this thing when like fundamentally more my personal morals. I don't care what you do. I do not care if anyone has a surrogate. There are women.
If you don't care what people do, why are you even talking about this?
Who want to do that. There are people with uteruses who want to do that. I personally don't want to participate from my end. I don't give a fuck. Again, like we were saying earlier, queerness means you can do whatever you want to.
He said his opinion, which was kind of spicy, I guess. And I don't have a problem with it. I potentially agree if I look into it enough. And then we have to like go on and on about how, oh, I don't care what other people do. Come on, bro. Again, this is what I associate queerness with. This is the kind of thing I want to get away from. It's got nothing to do with bigotry.
Want to do, and I love you for being able to do it.
Even their aesthetics are boring now. Yeah, I'd agree. Like a lot of the stuff you see was like edgy in like the 80s, and like the oversexed stuff had a good run, I guess. There's like flamboyant male kind of thing. But even stuff like that gets old, ultimately.
Doesn't mean I have to do it. This is one of those examples. I'm not going to do that. But I think that like it puts so.
Yeah, and you think that anyone who does it is patriarchal, but then because you've caveated it, because you've disclaimed it a whole bunch of times, it's fine. I don't know, just have an opinion. What happened to just having an opinion? It feels like to have an opinion in a lot of these queer circles, you have to like workshop it and run it by people and disclaimer it 5 different ways. That's the kind of shit that I don't want, and that's the kind of shit that is part of why I don't consider myself queer, because I don't want any part in that. I just want to say my thing. And at least the fucking cis-het straight people that are so evil, apparently, at least some of them actually feel like they listen to me and understand, because I just say things. I don't have to go round the houses caveating a perfectly fine opinion to have. You don't want to be pro fucking... What is it? You don't want to be pro... What was the word? Fuck's sake, man. My brain is not on today. Surrogacy. You don't want to be pro surrogacy. That's fine. Why you got to caveat it? Why you got to... oh, I don't care what you think. Oh, I don't care what you do. Like, you know, you do you and stuff. Like, oh man, it's tiring.
You for being able to do it doesn't mean I have to do it. This is one of those examples. I'm not going to do that. But I think that like it puts so much more into perspective for me of like, what do I want to oblige and what do I not? I'm a monogamous person. So there are a bunch of queer people who are not monogamous. There are people who are poly, like I said earlier. Like we have an opportunity to really...
Yeah, you don't have to be poly to be polyamorous either. Although usually that's polygamy when it's non-queer. But I don't know. What does this person think of polygamy? I mean, if they're monogamous, they might not think very highly of it. But I don't know, man.
Really choose our lives as queer people. And I think that the first step to that is choosing queerness.
Like, I mean, some straight people have kids, some don't. Is that not kind of the same thing?
At large, and that means that like I just automatically have just such a wider and vaster, you know, array of options because I am open to people's experiences that are not the cis hetero model in various ways, you know.
But then plenty of like cis hetero people are too. The average cis hetero person that meets a trans person or a gay person or whatever, they don't instantly think, oh, that's gross, oh, that's bad. Most people couldn't care less. They care more about what kind of person you are, I think.
You know, versus like being one of those queer people or one of those LGBT people who wants to recreate the model. It is so minimal, you know, and it's so like I was talking about this with my therapist where like I'm an actor
to recreate the model, or they just want to live a normal life, or they don't want to be part of this like radical shit. What's wrong with that? We're like going out our way. I have this opinion, but don't think I'm being judgmental towards you if you do this. But then when it comes to like these so-called norms, suddenly it's fine to be judgmental, it seems. Like, I don't think you are just like letting people do what they want to do. Because when you get some gay person that suggests they just want to live kind of a normal life, suddenly it feels like you're judging them and like equating them to bigots.
and I'm a content creator. I was sick. I sat on my couch yesterday on Monday and watched season 13 of RuPaul's Drag Race. I didn't have to go to an office. I didn't have to do anything. My bills are paid, right? Like my job doesn't require me to like go into a place. And it's an interesting shift from like experiencing the like 9-to-5 model in the world. And that's never been my job, but like I still feel compelled to exist within.
So was this person ever really like, it kind of seems like he's been part of like the whole queer thing and like mostly just indulged in like gay culture and nothing else. Like, I don't know, man. Like, are you judging people you don't really know much about to an extent? Is there not a point with like queer shit where it gets to where people are so invested in their differences from other people, they completely neglect all the stuff they have in common with other people? That's another thing that I feel like, you know what I mean? These queer ghetto-minded folks have a very poor idea of what these cis-het people are experiencing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think we're judging a way of life that we don't actually understand. And if it's not for you, I mean, you said earlier with the surrogacy thing, then that's fine. But like, you're making this video, and like, we're almost to the end. Nothing he's described about queer is something you couldn't do without identifying as queer. The actual identity of queer is meaningless. It only seems to exist so that you can find other people that call themselves queer and be friends with them. But then half the time you're going to have like zero in common with them. And that's something that I've experienced as well. Like, I didn't really fit in. I felt like I wouldn't fit in, in like so-called straight places. And truthfully, I didn't know. I just made this assumption and spent time in gay bars instead. Well, I made friends with like gay people. I made some friends with some very good people. Maybe one or two of whom don't think that I'm a fucking bigot still. I don't know. But I had nothing in common with almost anyone. And that's kind of the risk that you take when your friendships rely on, oh, well, I also am a homosexual, or, oh, well, I am trans and I don't agree with monogamy. Like, you might have zero in common with that person. It's like, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. And then we're trying to make out that anyone that's not about this queer stuff is like bigoted potentially. Political ideologies that cause severe damage to the, like, what is that? Are we going to touch on any of that?
In that paradigm, even though that's never been my world. And I think that it can feel the same way with queer people in this like cis hetero paradigm where it's like, well, you must get married, you must.
Who is telling you must get married? I don't understand it. There's going to be some people that don't understand your way of life, sure, but are we not generalizing?
Buy a home, you must have a child that like has one or two of your, you know, genetic traits. And it's like, but if the base level of that,
you don't have to do any of that as a heterosexual person. Almost makes me sound like the gay thing is just something you got into because you found that overwhelming or something. But I know that's not the case. I believe this person's gay. What am I listening to?
It's already not the same. Who do I owe for forcing my way and like fitting my way into this thing that like doesn't necessarily align with me naturally, my nature. I was born gay.
So just don't do that kind of stuff. And someone expects you to do something you don't want to do, then you don't have to do it. I don't know what we're talking about.
I naturally want to be with another man. That I'm gay. That is my nature. What else is my nature? Some would say open, polyamory. That's some people's nature. That is not my nature. If you want to be with me, that better not be your nature either, girl. Because I believe.
I don't think that some people have a polyamorous nature. I don't believe that. I think most of the time when you see polyamorous people, they tend to already be invested in these like queer communities. And they want to do as much away from like the so-called cis-het norms as possible. I think some people honestly do it, like in trans circles and stuff like that, because it's trendy. I think some people are in it for that. It's very weird how so many trans people I meet are all polyamorous and all far left and all anti-capitalist and all these other things that have got nothing to do with being trans. Like, we're just sticking together as many things as we can at this point.
Well, you will not survive. I will not survive.
So like when you stick together that many things that seem to have nothing in common, you're going to end up around a lot of people that don't think the same way as you and might not like the fact that you don't think the same way as them. And again, that's what I've experienced. That's why I don't want to say anti-queer, but that's why I don't identify as queer. And that's why I keep away, honestly, from queer circles. That's why I criticize them, because I think there's problems. But all of this queer stuff, like you can't talk to these people about this kind of stuff. I mean, maybe this person's an exception. I don't know. If he saw my video and wanted to reach out to me, like, amazing, fair enough, whatever. Like, that's fine. But people don't in general. I voice my opinions and people get offended. And it's like, well, I don't know, man. There's problems here. And you're refusing to listen to someone that literally has been trans longer than most of these fucking people have been alive, you know?
I might burn the whole house down. I might burn the loft down. You want a white picket fence? Great, go through your chest. Because you want to cheat on me? You want to be in a relationship? Great. Picket fence, Dracula. Oh, I made a vampire because there's a fence in your chest. Okay, for sure. That's what you wanted. Okay. But if you are open, if you want, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I'm not doing it. What I do care is that you were able to do it. What I do care is that you're able to choose and be as free and as queer and have the specificity of the relationship that you want.
Yeah, queer still is meaningless. We still have not shown any kind of real definition for it. And is meant to be meaningless.
That is our God-given queer right. Is that like we have gone through too motherfucking much for people to now tell us how we get to be queer on top of telling me that I shouldn't at all.
Telling you how you get to be queer. Like, what are you talking about? I've been told how I'm supposed to be queer. Constantly. They just push a different set of norms. And instead of like marrying a woman and having children, I'm expected to be like a communist and to accept transitioning children and stuff. And I'm just not down with that kind of stuff. I'm sorry. And I felt that kind of expectation. And it feels just as bad as when you're expected to live up to certain supposed cis-hetero norms. So I think this happens all the time. I think people are constantly telling each other how to be queer. To the point where you're saying, well, if you don't identify as queer, I'm lumping you in with like bigots. Which, by the way, are we going to like... We've barely spoken about these people who are LGBT who choose not to align. Like, is this video about that or is it about just his life story? It seems to happen a lot. You get these like queer videos. The queer Kiwi is actually straight. Yeah, true. That person is a fraud. Absolutely terrible, terrible channel. Yeah, like I'm baffled by this whole thing, honestly.
That I'm going to hell. Now you want me to like live within a confine while I'm no. Get out. No, get out of my white picket fence that's burned to the ground. Get out of here. No, we're not doing this. I'm gonna live my life because I'm gonna, right? And you're gonna live yours. And I want you to. I want you to live your.
Yeah, it's like you're asking permission. You don't need to. And you don't need to call yourself queer to be like this at all.
Your life. And so all queerness is valid, but not everyone in the LGBT is queer. So not every LGBT person is valid. I'm just gonna say that. Some of you bitches are haters. Some of you bitches. I'm gonna live my life because I'm gonna, right? And you're gonna live yours. And I want you to. I want you to live your life. And so all queerness is valid, but not everyone in the LGBT is queer. So not every LGBT person is valid. I'm just gonna.
So you're not valid unless you're queer. So you're not telling people how to be queer. You're telling people how to be LGBT. That's worse, because those things actually mean something. Those are letters that stand for actual real things, as opposed to queer. So that's worse. Like this is exactly what I thought. This comes across as extremely judgmental of people that don't think the same way you do. So it kind of seems like you want aesthetic diversity. Oh, well, one of my friends is poly and one of my friends is something else. But when it comes down to any kind of mindset, any kind of like ideology, You're singing from the same hymn sheet. Like, this person doesn't vote red. He doesn't, does he break with the queer community in any meaningful way? Like, this is, it's like we just want excuses to judge each other. And it's just another queer good, non-queer bad. Just like the way people treat, like, fucking politics. Just like the way people treat being gay or straight if they're a homophobe or something. I don't see this as any better. And you're telling people how they should think if they're LGBT. Oh, you're not with us, you're bad people. Why? Because I don't identify as queer? Why would I identify as queer when you'll seem extremely judgmental? When you'll expect me to conform to your ideals and I don't want to? It's just another group of norms.
To say that some of you bitches are haters, some of you bitches want us to not be who we are, and I don't think you deserve the same.
Yeah, that is a completely delusional framing of people who are LGBT but don't identify as queer. You're nuts. You've like actually driven off a cliff in these last 2 minutes. What happened?
The freedom into the community that I get. You are not in my community. I do not welcome you. I do not fuck with you. You are not queer. You are gay.
Like, what the fuck?
But you're not queer because queerness is not racist. Queerness is not fatphobic.
Again, this is exactly what I said earlier. Non-queer immediately starts slapping these like bigotry labels. You're like trying to bigot shame people into identifying as queer so that they're not bigots anymore. But not being queer isn't about being a bigot. It's just not, it's about not accepting your norms in the same way you see your queerness as not accepting, cis-het norms. You're just another version of cis-het norms to me. And I find that shit stifling. I have done for like years. And I tried to appease these kind of people. It doesn't work.
Queerness is not misogynistic. Queerness is not, ableist. Like that isn't, no.
Wait, if queerness isn't misogynistic, then what does this person think of male people having sex with women and getting them pregnant in female prisons because they said that they're personally female? What does this person think about trans women in sports? Because to me, it's a bit misogynistic to say that women have to compete with males when males are superior at most sports. I think that's a bit misogynist. Like, this is gross. This is actually gross. This reminds me of everything. This reminds me of every reason why I'm so averse to the whole queer thing. Like, here we go. We've got it right here. If I haven't explained this kind of stuff before, then now you have it. Does that make me a bigot? Because I don't think I'm sexist. I don't think I'm racist. I don't think I'm homophobic. I don't think I'm fat-phobic, even though I don't think being fat is good for you. I don't like some of the fat acceptance community because of their excesses, because of the fact that they're pushing unhealthy lifestyles. It's not difficult. But who has this person spoken to that isn't queer but is LGBT? Who have you spoken to before forming these opinions and voicing them on the internet?
Because queer people are disabled, fat, black, female, you know what I mean? Like that, all those people are queer. Queer is not just like a hot gay guy. And if that's what you think queerness is, then you are not my community. And I am the arbiter of who is queer in my world because it's my queerness, so I get to choose who's in and who's out.
Yeah, and we're all individualistic. We're all narcissistic. It is what it is.
You're out. If you're bad, if you're not nice to my friends, I have friends who are fat, I have friends who are trans, I have friends who are gender nonconforming. If you are not nice to my friends, you're not my community. So, sorry, be nice. I love queerness. I love the vastness, the beauty, the freakiness, the punkness, the disgustingness of.
Yeah, but are you going to be nice to people that don't identify as queer? No. You'll instantly, you don't call yourself queer? You can't fuck with us. That's bizarre. Lizzo lost weight and now they're after. Is that true? Shit.
Queerness, I love it all. And I want to protect your queerness because by proxy, mine is protected. And
yeah, and all this queerness, it still means nothing. Like, if you replace queerness with cis-het normativity, cis-heteronormativity, you're talking about a comparable thing, it feels like. It's a different set of norms. We're judging anyone that doesn't want to fall under those norms and assuming that it's because of bigotry. I think this is actually quite disgusting. Anyway, there we go. Horace Gold. I did it. I even called you by your preferred name. Here you go. There you go. I don't think I was racist at all. I don't think I was homophobic at all. I don't think I was fatphobic at all. I don't think I was misogynist or anything like that. But I'm not queer. I'm anti-queer. Well, I'm not anti-queer, but I'm not interested in that shit. Because I'm expected to be certain things that I am not. And I'm not going to be. To me, it's the same shit as cis-heteronormativity. Which I also don't fit into, because I'm trans. I'm not the most cis heteronormative person in the world. But I still find queerness also stifling. And these kind of people don't understand our perspectives, which sucks. And then people vote for Trump and they're LGBT. And you instantly attach all this like bigotry kind of stuff. We need to get past that. We need to start understanding why people think the way they do, even if we still disagree. And not just slap bigot labels on. Can you non-consensually label you queer? I don't know. Presumably not. There'll be some caveat or other. But yeah, there we go. Wow. Did not get down with this at all. Maybe you would reject me in real life and not treat me very well. Don't worry. I'm used to it from queer people. So, hey. It's quite a new channel, actually. I sat down with my MAGA mom. God, you'd think he'd have a better perspective. Look. You'd think his perspective would be a bit stronger on this. Like, his mum is like MAGA and stuff. So you have people in your orbit. You have people in your family and stuff. Like, oh, it's painful. It's pain. I'm not gonna. There's no point in continuing. Anyway, how are we doing? Hey, make sure you like the stream. Make sure you check the links in my description. You can join my Discord. You can subscribe to me on Twitch if you use Twitch. I am monetized on Twitch, but not YouTube currently.